Hey, I'm Adam Jusko, and this is Strictly Credit Cards, where we talk about strictly credit cards. Subscribe, why don't you? In this video, I am going to review the Indigo Mastercard. The Indigo Mastercard is a less than perfect credit card for people that have less than perfect credit, which generally means bad credit, although to some extent they may be targeting some people that are more in the average fair credit zone as well. So the Indigo Mastercard is a card marketed by a company called Genesis FS Card Services, and if you have bad credit yourself, you might also get offers from some of the other cards that they market that are in the similar space. There's the Milestone Mastercard and also the Destiny Mastercard. Those also come from Genesis FS Card Services, and they are somewhat similar in the terms and conditions that they're going to offer you in terms of fees and interest rate and that sort of thing. But the Indigo Mastercard is what we are looking at here. So while the Indigo Mastercard is one card product, it can have different rates and fees depending on who they are marketing it to, depending on how bad or sort of middle of the road your credit is. But in general, you can expect that there are probably going to be annual fees and small credit lines for most customers. Now, if you actually go onto the Indigo site, as far as I could tell, they don't show you any credit card agreements so that you can sort of sift through and see what you're getting into. They want you to do a pre-qualification on their site in order to kind of get you in the funnel and see if they can get that card to you. However, the Indigo Mastercard, while it is marketed by Genesis FS Card Services, the card itself is actually issued by a partner bank called Celtic Bank. And on the Celtic Bank website, they do show 6 potential Indigo Mastercard card agreements showing the annual fees you might pay and showing the interest rates you might pay. So we're going to go through a few of those to give you an idea of what you might expect from Indigo. Actually, before I do that, I should mention that all of the Indigo Mastercard offers that I'm talking about are for unsecured credit cards, meaning you do not have to put down any sort of security deposit in order to get the card. All right, let's look at a few of those offers, and I'll start with sort of the best offer for people, I assume, that have the best credit that Indigo might send an offer out to, or that might use the pre-qualification tool on the Indigo site. So there is a no annual fee version of the Indigo Mastercard. According to the terms and conditions of that cardholder agreement, it would likely have a credit limit of $300, and the interest rate on it would be 24.9%. Now, obviously, that is not a great interest rate, and $300 is not a very big credit line, but with no annual fee, if you are someone trying to rebuild your credit, this is potentially a way to do it without having to pay any fees. Yes, you don't have much of a credit line, but if you use the card a little bit and you pay it off in full every month, you wouldn't have to pay any interest, even though it is a very high interest rate. You don't have to pay interest if you don't actually carry a balance. So you could use this card to build your credit back up. The card does report to the 3 major credit bureaus, so that's not a bad offer if you are someone that is trying to rebuild and your credit is maybe sort of in the middle. Now, there's a good chance you wouldn't get that no annual fee offer. That's the best of the potential offers for the Indigo Mastercard. Looking at the rest of the list, there is another version that gives you that same $300 credit line, but you have a $75 annual fee in the first year, $99 annual fee in the second year and beyond, and a 29.9% interest rate. So you look at that card, you still have a very small credit line, but now you're paying a sizable chunk just to get it. So pay $75 in that first year. You're already going to be on the hook for $75, and your credit line would then essentially start at $225. So not a lot of credit line to use, and a big fee on top of it. And then obviously if you keep the card in year 2, that annual fee gets even bigger. And then you have the version that gives you a $400 credit line, which is a little bit better, but that one you have to pay a $99 annual fee in the first year and every year after that. So they'll give you a little bit more credit line, but they're going to charge you more at the same time. And then potentially you could even get a $500 credit line. However, that's going to come with a $125 annual fee in the first year and a $125 annual fee every year after that. So you might get a little more of a credit line, but you're going to pay a lot more to get it, which means you're going to pay a big chunk and you're still not going to have that big of a credit line to start out with. So the Indigo Mastercard is one of those sort of trade-off credit cards for people that have a bad credit history, want an unsecured card, and are maybe willing to pay a little bit in order to get it, in order to build credit and hopefully get themselves to a place where they can get a better credit card down the road. It does report to the 3 major credit bureaus. If you are interested in the card, you can go to their website and do a pre-qualification. That would only be a soft pull on your credit initially, at least to see what offers you might get from them, and then you could decide what offer you think you're going to get. And if you actually did then apply for the card, there would be a hard inquiry. So it's soft pull on your pre-qualification, not going to hurt your credit score, but it would be a hard inquiry if you go ahead and get the card. So it's a bare bones card, no rewards, not a lot going on with this card, and you are going to have to pay for a fairly small credit line. But it's not necessarily the worst card out there if you are trying to rebuild your credit and you have a bad credit history. There are other cards with higher fees and higher interest rates. The First Premier MasterCard being the one I always hold up as sort of the worst of the lot. This one is not as bad as that and not as bad as some of the others. At least I don't think it's as bad. I'm going off of the cardholder agreements that I can actually, get my hands on by looking for them on the internet. It's possible you could get an offer that is worse than what I have talked about, so make sure you look closely if you get something in the mail or if you do a pre-qualification. Now, with all that said, anytime I talk about cards that are targeting the bad credit market, I always make a pitch for secured credit cards as an alternative that is better for many people who are trying to rebuild credit. A secured credit card does require you to put a security deposit down, so you have to come up with some cash that you're going to send into the issuing bank of that card, and that money is just going to be put off to the side as a deposit in case you don't pay your bills. But you will then get a credit card and you can use it just like any other, and if you make your payments on time, it can help you to build your credit score. And when you get to sort of the end point with that secured card, whether that means you get upgraded to an unsecured card or you just don't want it anymore for whatever reason, they send you that security deposit back, assuming that you have paid all your bills. The reason I like secured credit cards better in general is because sometimes they have no annual fees, or they're going to have probably lesser annual fees than a card like the Indigo Mastercard. Sometimes they have rewards with them as well. They're usually going to have lower interest rates, and the best secured credit cards oftentimes will have a path to an unsecured card. A card like the Discover secured card, they will start looking at your credit history in as little as 8 months to see if potentially they can move you up to an unsecured version of their card. Bank of America also has a path where they could potentially give you an unsecured card down the road if you do well with their secured card, and there are others as well. So not only do you have sort of a path potentially to an unsecured card, you also may be able to get a card down the road from a bigger bank, which maybe is what you want to begin with anyway. So if you start with Discover, you can end up with an unsecured Discover, or if you start with Bank of America, you could end up with an unsecured Bank of America down the road, instead of starting with a company like Indigo, where there's not a clear path for you to get an unsecured card that is going to have a bigger credit line. So if you are considering the Indigo Mastercard, make sure you go in with your eyes open in terms of what you are getting. You probably are going to pay an annual fee for a fairly small credit line. The Indigo Mastercard, not the worst in the bad credit market in my opinion, but not necessarily the best either. It just kind of sits there along with a lot of other cards that offer something similar. But it can help you build your credit if you want to go that route. Although I would suggest you do the secured cards instead. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comments section below. Please subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.